I just passed my inspection and got the go-ahead to put up the drywall. Went ahead and picked up 32 sheets at Lowe's. I don't know how many sheets I'm going to need. Just starting out with 32, and need to get all this inside and get the house cleaned up enough to where I can maneuver this stuff around. First thing I'm doing is putting the drywall on the ceiling, and for that I use a lift. This is a Harbor Freight drywall lift. Can accommodate 8-foot sheets and 12-foot sheets. It's got arms that extend out. It also tilts so you can load the pieces onto it and then tilt them up and then raise them up with a crank, and it holds it tight to the ceiling and you screw it in. I don't know why in the world somebody would sit around with a 2x4 and shaped like a T, nailed together, jamming them up in there. That would be very difficult for the price that you can get these from Harbor Freight, and they work great. I'm going to stack all the drywall right here. I think that's a pretty good place. And then I'm going to move all the crap from the house, kind of empty one room. I'll work on that room, then I'll take the junk from the next room and put it in the room I finish, and just kind of have to shuffle stuff around. At the same time, I'm going to be cleaning up some of the materials in this house that I no longer need. So everything is good to go. Now I just have the daunting task of bringing all that drywall inside.
Based, thick-bodied stuff pulling up the guys up on the roof,
And some of it is asphalt-based, white.
So the observant people in the viewing audience will have probably caught a mistake I just made, and that is that somewhere around right in here is where a light is. So one of those boxes like that I cut out for a 4-inch ceiling work box is right here. I screwed the drywall over it. I usually do this at least once in a house that I'm drywalling, whether it be on the wall or in the ceiling, and I've done it 2.5 sheets in. So I need to go ahead and fix that, and I'm not going to unscrew the whole sheet. I'm going to reach in over here with a and measure how far in it is, and then I'll knock in with a hammer, pull the wires down through the hole, and then cut it, and it'll just pop up, and then I can finish screwing this sheet up. Hopefully.
That concrete gets cold, and then we got warmer temperatures.
It's in a counterculture, it's people, and it's really
established serious civilization, because at the beginning, you know, they're thinking that they're like.
It didn't come out perfect, but I have one ceiling up. I didn't want to get into any kind of real how-to-y type stuff. Just need to get back in the swing of it and make the mistakes that you make when you're kind of getting back into something you haven't done in a while. It has been about 3 years since I've had to do any drywall, luckily, and that is my own house. I drywalled the entire place. I have a video on this channel if you go back before I started the $12,000 series house. But let's take a look at my mistakes I've made, and I'll touch on a few things real quick before we move on to the next part. So for cutting out, you know, this one was just measured and cut. You can see there's a little gap. That's the kind of things that happen when you do that. Versus when you measure and then use something like a roto zip, you can do that. But this can occur too if you get your measuring wrong. There was a mistake. Roto zip cuts it nice and tight, but you're going to have, in the case of this, there's going to be a light that overlaps like this far, so it doesn't really matter. I accidentally ran my roto zip when I was cutting the opening out for the attic. I ran it right between the gap between this board and this, and kept cutting, so I kind of cut the paper off left and right, and that will just get joint compounded. I'm not worried about everything being perfect with these places. I like to get them nice, but you know, if something is not perfectly square, whatever, I'm going to keep moving on. Such as this right here, you can see where the board kind of dives down. That's just where the level of these and the height of this wall, it's just not quite exact, and I filled in with a piece of plywood that overhangs and then screwed it down. But in the end, you're not going to notice all this kind of stuff. You know, someone may notice that one thing, but you know, it all is good enough in the end. I'm already taking a long time. If I got more particular, my God. Next thing up, going to either do the walls in this room, or I'm going to start the ceilings in another room. But I'm thinking, since I got the room pretty much cleaned out right now, to not have to move everything around, just a few things sitting here, I'll go ahead and do the walls.
your fridge is going to start smelling like onions and garlic, and you don't really want your apples and peaches to.
Hey, how are you? I'm doing good. How are you? Pretty good. Thanksgiving is upon us, and you and I have we've done care about it. So I'm one of these people that loves roasted the white meat, and a lot of people don't. Pork skin. There's two things going on. I mean, it's hydrated and brown, and then.
It's fine to use that image. He wants 50 records.
a month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate quotes based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting.
Sign the pledge.
I've got an exciting update. I find it exciting, at least. Can you see it? Got the electricity on, and I'm going ahead and testing some of the circuits. I probably should have tested these before I put the drywall up, but I went ahead and I've got it kind of rigged up, and this is to come loose, but I just have the wires rigged up, and all you have to do for wiring a switch, it's very simple. Take the blacks, put them on the screws. Let's get this to focus where you can see what I'm saying. Put the blacks on the screws, twist the white wires together, and the grounds all go together. It's all just kind of rigged up right now. And then I just flip the breaker. So in doing that, I just have the line for the kitchen runs directly from the box over to this switch. Then it drops out of this box and feeds some of the receptacles. I have my wires and my receptacles together. A lot of people will do them separate. That's just how I did it. I'll probably do it different in the future. But I have got the lights on, and this is nice. This is a cool feeling to have some drywall up and the lights functioning. I got the electricity just got hooked back up today. So I'm going to show you real quick. Just wiring it a receptacle. This is just a temporary one. This is the one I'm going to work off of. This is for the dishwasher. Your dishwasher and your refrigerator. This is where the refrigerator will go. Each one of those is on their own circuit. So if I was to wire up one of these random outlets in here, other pieces of this Romex hanging out of the wall would be hot. Not everything, but some of them would be that way. There would be some bare wires, and I just don't want to do that. I could rig one up temporarily on that light switch or something, because a line runs directly to that. But this is just a dedicated circuit for this outlet, so I'm going to use that one, and I don't have to worry about anything else. For this step, it is rather simple. I've just stripped the jacket off of the outside of the individual wires. So inside of a piece of Romex, this being Romex, you've got a black, you've got a white, and then you've got this bare copper wire. This is your hot wire, this is your neutral wire, this is your ground wire. And so you take a pair of wire strippers. They have gauges, multiple places you can make cuts depending on what gauge wire. I'm using 12 gauge, so I'm going to come in, strip a little off, strip a little off, and how much you strip off is going to depend on what you're doing. If you're using push-in, some of the wires you can just shove into the back and the receptacle just kind of grabs hold of it. But I'm going to use the screws. Then I'm going to use these holes in the pliers, put it in a little bit, and then roll the pliers 90 degrees, and that forms a little loop onto the end of your wire. And I'm going to do that with all of them. And I'll probably shorten this wire up later, but this is just to get me power. So on the sides of your receptacles, you're going to have silver screws, gold screws, and a green screw. Your black wire, your hot wire, goes to the gold screw. Your neutral wire goes to the silver screw. Your bare wire goes to the green screw. Green is always ground, no matter where you see it. Black to gold. And you want to put the loose end of the end of the wire, you want to wrap around that screw to where the direction you screw right, you want the wire to wrap right around it too, and that holds it on there tight and doesn't pull the wire off as you're screwing it on. And again, this is just a temporary power source for me. And then you got to get all this into the box. I normally do something like that. I just kind of roll it. Next, you just want to fit the screws into the box. There's holes in the blue work box, and there's screws that are on the receptacles. And you just want to drive those in. Then you need to find the breaker. In my case, I do not have my box labeled yet, so we'll plug a light into this and then just start flipping breakers till this one turns on. Be sure to check out all my other videos along with my other YouTube channel, The Homestead Craftsman. I also wrote an ebook on how I buy cheap houses. The link for that will be in the description below. If you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment below and click the thumbs up while you're at it. Thanks for watching.